Hello and welcome into Off Topic with Laird, formerly known as Rabbit Hunting, a show that rabbit hunting I might try to do again, meaning the activity of rabbit hunting, but not actually calling this that, because I was going off topic so much and I was like, oh, I should call this something else. And I'm going with Off Topic for now. So as you can see, I've really done up the graphics here for Off Topic, great new logo and all this cool stuff. So yeah, that's a work in progress. Didi Sorare was first in. Didi, thank you so much for coming in. You were first. GF Germ. We've got Johannanton here. Blue Tomatoes, thank you guys for joining and for chatting. Remember the like button, always helpful. The few things that I was going to talk about today, we got the Sorare Scout, Charlie. Good to see you guys. So the first thing I wanted to discuss is something that came up yesterday, and a few more people coming in. Thank you guys for joining. Mike Baston's back. Mike, welcome back. So we came out with kind of the enhanced lineup builder yesterday with the with lineup suggestions, which everyone has really enjoyed so far. And the feedback was really good until this morning. And well, it was this morning for me. So when we come out with new stuff, everyone gets really excited and everybody goes to use it. And we had just kind of an issue this morning where too many people were using it. Now, I want to preface all of this by saying that I have zero to do, actually, this is going to sound like I'm blaming. I have no technical skills whatsoever. And so intelligently, I am not allowed to touch anything because I might break it when it comes to SorareData. But the other difficult thing is that like we do test things a lot. Like we make sure that everything we come out with is used the way it should be and that it reacts the way it should and it works the way it should. And particularly with our football stuff, Clement is incredible at this. He's our chief football officer. And a lot of the stuff that comes out was like under his direction. And we have some like fantastic developers who work on all of this stuff and fantastic designers. I've said it before, like I'm by far the dumbest employee at SorareData. So take that out however you want. But one of the things that I think it's difficult to do is to simulate tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people using the same page at the same time. And I could be completely wrong about that, but it's a little tough to do that. And so when we come out with new things and everybody goes to use it, and then there's like, this site, is like a little slower than people are used to, or it's just downright slow. People get really upset. And understandably, you get frustrated because you're used to the site working perfectly all the time. But just know that that stuff bothers us too. And we don't just leave it there and be like, well, it's just slow now. Like when we use it and it's slow, we look for ways to improve it. And so today with all the feedback of like, man, this is so slow. And then people start with the whole, like, why do I pay for this? I pay you for this. It should always, and comments like that don't help. That's how I'll put it. And we've talked about it on office hours, but there are like actual human beings who built this stuff and are responsible for making sure it works and it works the best. And when things aren't working the best, we know because we use the site too. That's the big thing with SorareData is that all of us play and we use SorareData to get better at this game. And so when it doesn't work perfectly, we know, and we are trying to fix it. So when things are a little slow, that doesn't mean like, don't tell us if things are broken, because sometimes there are certain pages we just don't know. Support@SorareData.com is where everyone should go with that. Tweeting me or Maxime or Clement or anyone else or the SorareData account, like it's just not the best way for us to find out that something is not working correctly. So support@SorareData.com. But like particularly with today, like we know, and we are working on it. I promise that we are working on ways to make sure that everything is as perfect as possible. And so that's all you do. And so we're, like, I don't know if everyone, I'll apologize. Like, I'm sorry it didn't work perfectly this morning. I happen to, like, mine was generally okay. And I don't have any like secret access site that works better than everyone else's. So there's just that. Like, we're really excited about these suggested lineups, and I think everyone should be really excited. And as we work on making it faster, I think people are going to really have a good time with it. I have to admit that I disagreed with it a ton this week. So there was a point where I was like, all right, I'm just going to use the suggested lineups. And then it like pulled up what its suggestion. And I was like, really? Like, is that really and so I'm not there yet, to be honest. I'm not willing to blindly follow the suggestions, but we're getting closer. Blue Tomato's asking if Erwan. It's funny, that's a combination of his real name, Erwan, and his Sorare name, SRR1. I don't think he ever stops working. No, but if things happen on the weekend, like we're aware. Don't worry. We don't leave the office at 5 o'clock on Friday and come back Monday at 9. Like we're aware of things, and we can fix them if there are things that happen. So yeah. So Yeon Tan is saying, I had so many disagreements with the suggested lineups. I might just let it do everything for one game week for fun. So yeah, I was going to do it this week, and then I couldn't do it. And Blue Tomatoes, you're right. I never come to the office. Although technically, maybe I'm just always in the office. We just don't know where the office is. Jakun is saying that their feed is lagging. If anybody else has that problem, if you could please, actually just let me know in the chat. Don't email support@SorareData for that one. You can just leave that in the chat. But yeah, so we have all of Sorare is pumping right now, meaning the games are going. Like, we have football, we have baseball, we have basketball. I actually have to set my baseball lineups because the deadline is in an hour and 20 minutes, and I haven't done anything yet. I don't have, thankfully, nearly as many baseball lineups as I have football, so it shouldn't take that long. And I also don't always stick with the suggested lineups yet with that lineup builder, mostly because for a couple reasons, for things that we are working on that will make it more valuable for all users, just the way that the kind of the MLB game should be played. And so, yeah, we'll get to that at some point. But let's see what happened this week. Oh, I wanted to bring up Nep. So Nepenthes filled in on the strategy show this week. And firstly, I just want to thank him for coming on. The general response really from everyone, like, I've gotten feedback from people that have never kind of reached out saying they really enjoyed having him on. And so I'm glad to hear that, because I had a really good time talking to him, even though he's trying to get me to sell a third of my gallery to try to get better. But I had a really good time with that. It will definitely not be the last time that we have him on, because I think maybe it's only because he and I have kind of similar galleries that it was kind of easier to talk to him about it, because we're kind of in that same spot. Like, we're not quite sure what the next step is. And if it's going up to uniques, then it's a lot of money that needs to be spent, or a lot of cards that need to be traded. And so that was fun. And yeah, like I said, I definitely hope to have him back. I don't know, with Sean or in another show. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But we had the Luka Doncic unique this week, which I think was generally considered a huge disappointment in terms of the price, because the season's basically over and the Mavs are going to miss the playoffs, and nobody's excited about NBA at this point. So it was a little disappointing to see like a top 3 or 5 player in the NBA not generate the excitement that you'd hope would be generated from their unique card auction. I feel like the Mbappe one, which was his third auction, and it is towards the end of the European season as well, but it felt like the Kylian Mbappe auction was a little more exciting, maybe because the price, that we have Pranksy coming in and spending all this money, going up to 100 ETH, and then getting outbid by, I don't remember if it was Bambi and Roxy. Roxy ended up with it. So congrats to Roxy for that new card, which is always fun. And let's see, what else happened this week? We had office hours when we talked, the boosts came out, which I still don't know how I feel about it. I was listening to Nellis's podcast this morning with MLS Card Guy, and they were kind of discussing the club shop and coins and boosts and all that. And I haven't spent any of my coins yet. I don't know why. I guess I'm kind of like a lot of people, just waiting to find out the value, or not even the value, because that part doesn't even matter to me. But I'm curious to see like what the jersey situation is, if it's just like only signed jerseys, or if it's all jerseys. I happen to be wearing a jersey today. They wouldn't be selling this one because the USA is not a licensed club. Although I guess they had them for the Global Cup. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I'm also not a huge jersey guy anyway. Maybe I'll become one if I can use my coins to get them. But so there was that. And then Andy and I chatted yesterday for an hour, really about nothing. And Alex R was asking if I haven't even spent coins on extra training lineups. I did find part of me, it's not like out of spite, but there was part of me where I actually didn't mind the old training system where you just trained all your cards. But it was funny to me that their solution to everyone complaining about training was getting rid of it. And they were like, all right, you can have 3. You only have to worry about 3. And then it was like, do you want to pay us? And I know like Sorare coins don't have like actual value. Then like, do you want to pay us to do more of this thing that you were happy went away? I get it. I just don't do it myself. One of the other reasons why is most of my cards are in play right now. And so really my training lineups, at least on weekends, and I guess I'm giving up the double XP for midweeks, but on weekends, any card that I would want to get an XP boost, I have in like a legitimate lineup. And so that's why I haven't bought the extra training teams. Maybe I will when the European seasons end, because then those guys will just be getting the regular 75 XP, but it's really not something I don't need more training lineups right now, because then I just start training cards I don't really care about, and I'm using coins to do that. And if I need the coins later, you just never know. So yeah. So what was I talking about? Sorare Andrews yesterday. Andy and I talked for an hour about really nothing, which I feel like is sort of how that show happens a lot of times. Somebody described, or a few people described it to me, that show, as like just 2 guys in a pub, which is funny because Andy was actually drinking yesterday. And I love that description because it does kind of feel like that. It's just kind of like a laid back conversation about Sorare, that like we all have conversations about Sorare, and this one just happens to be out loud while other people are watching or listening. And that show's really fun. So but it's also one of those that we had fun yesterday, but I don't remember anything we talked about other than the boost. Or actually, we didn't talk about the boost because Andy wanted to add that to his GF list. So there's that. Mike Basson saying extra lineups to get extra So coins. So one of the things, did we talk about it on office hours? I think was it office hours? I think it might have been. Oh, like going back and forth, just and like that meme where she's like, the idea of using Sorare coins to get extra ETH threshold lineups, where you could like only like basically cap 240 lineups, where you can only win ETH. And I thought I would spend coins on that, because there's like a direct, not like ROI, but like I know what I can get out of that. Whereas everything else is kind of like, oh, you can get XP. And it's like, okay, well, I'm sure that'll pay off at some point, but I have no idea if it actually does pay off. And so that part's a little weird to me, but I mean, it is what it is. And so we'll see what happens. So apparently within the next 3 weeks, we're supposed to get more stuff in the club shop. That's what Nicola said on Monday. Was that Monday? Was that this week, the Nicola interview? This week has felt so long. So yeah, Mike Besson saying that was office hours. You have too many shows now for your memory to cope with. So this is completely true. But also this was kind of my plan at some point. Like when I joined SorareData, I was employee number 1. I'm pretty sure I was employee number 1. And there are like huge plans of all this content stuff. And, when we grow to a certain point, whatever it was. But at some point I was like, we should just have a daily show. And it doesn't necessarily have to be just like today in Sorare and be like kind of a morning talk show. But it does feel like I'm moving in that direction, only because now I do this show by myself, and we hadn't done one on Friday. And so this week Monday was the Nicola interview, and then basically Maxime's translation of the interview. If anybody has not caught that, there are a lot of like Twitter stream or threads out there describing what happened, or what Nicola discussed. It was kind of it wasn't a continuation of Dan and Alok's appearance on So Far So Rare last week. I highly recommend everyone listen to that as well. And then Nicola did a French interview on the SorareData Twitch stream, and then Maxime basically translated for me. And if you haven't seen the threads or wanted to just see exactly or hear from somebody who was actually in the interview, I would suggest checking that out. If you just go to the SorareData YouTube page, it's literally it's like the first video that pops up. So it was really interesting. And obviously it was more like a high level discussion. I don't think Nicola gets involved in gameplay issues much, which as the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, he probably shouldn't be getting involved in that. But I thought there were some really good insights, and Maxime has known Nicola for years, and Erwan was obviously buttering him up because he's trying to get a job there. At least that's what it seemed like. And so there was just a familiarity with the two of them, which was really nice. It wasn't like some random media interview where they just ask, they just go on to the news or something like that. So Shakel, how I would describe that. I never know how to pronounce names with numbers in the middle. I think you should limit your streams to max 1 per day. That's what I would like to do. I agree. But sometimes there's just too much content. So yeah, this week it was every day. And then there was 2 on Wednesday because we had the Luka Doncic unique along with office hours. Just the scheduling didn't work out. But yeah, I agree. I think one show a day would be good. And at some point, and I'll be honest, I'm not super comfortable with this yet, but I realize at some point there's going to have to be SorareData content, English content that I'm not on. Like I'm not not that I'm not associated with it, but there's only like so many hours in the day. And at some point, if they add more sports, when we start doing MLB content, there'll be more to do than I'll be able to handle. And so we might end up doing multiple things a day. So I kind of look at, not that I think we should do one thing a day for each sport, because I think that's kind of overkill. But it's possible that this gets huge enough that at one point that is something that people want. And I can't do that. So, but that's one thing that it's always like a me thing, that when I kind of oversee something or I'm responsible for something, giving that up is a problem. So Blue Tomato said you just need to sleep less, which is probably fair. Yeah. But I actually think sleep's really important. With that said, I drink like 12 cups of coffee a day. So we'll see how we feel about that. Is there anything you guys in the chat think we missed this week or just want to talk about? I was going to go use the MLB lineup builder to make my MLB lineups, but as I admitted before, I don't always use it like it's supposed to be used. And so it always makes me hesitate a little bit to show it off because I think it's like we know that the MLB lineup builder is still kind of in its infancy. And there are, like, we're working on new things that are going into it. And I just kind of have those things in my head that I have to look like beyond the lineup builder at this point. And so that's why I use it to organize my cards and like get my lineups in, but I'm not sure the going through it is that much. Blue Tomato said, maybe you could talk about your cap 240 reward. I wasn't going to talk about this at all, but you're right. I should do this because it's basically rabbit hunting with a mixture of me really bitching about the game week deadline. So thank you for bringing that up, Blue Tomatoes, because yes, let's talk about that. So I led off the show last week. I think it was last week with the fact that I was being wronged because of the game week deadline, where I had Urawa's Shusaku Nishikawa as a super rare goalkeeper. And because Nishikawa's game happened at the game week deadline, I was unable to use him for the weekend. And so this is the lineup. I wonder if where's my mouse here? I'm going to make myself a little bigger. So I couldn't use Nishikawa in the weekend when I wanted to because his game was literally at the game week deadline. And so now it's a midweek game. So I made my capped 240 super rare lineup with Brad Guzan instead. And I finished second, which was awesome. Like I was pretty psyched about this. I'll be completely honest that I don't check my lineups that much during the week, during game weeks. I check them when I want. And if I see something, I'm like, oh, okay. And I hadn't checked my lineups in a while. And I had like multiple messages from people about how I was first in Cap 240 Super Rare. So I pulled it up. Quinones had 100. I can't remember if that was Friday night or Saturday night. I didn't even know the game was happening. Like I found out that he had 100 from other people. So anyway, I was in first, but it was still, there were so many games to play still. And I was like, I'm going to fall. So I don't want to get too excited about this. And the day went on, and I like wasn't falling. And it was like, how much am I really going to just like constantly refresh this? So at some point I fell. And what's funny is that I knew I was going to fall. I mean, I didn't know, but like I fully expected to fall. So which was a bit of reality and a bit of making sure that when I fell, I was like, well, I knew this would happen. So I wasn't going to feel as bad. And I fell and I immediately was just like, which is funny because I knew I was going to fall, but I did fall. And if you notice here, Brad Guzan had 70.2 points and Nishikawa had 72 points. So a 1.8 point difference between the two. And you're sitting there like, why does that matter? And it matters because I lost by 0.88 points. So I would have finished first had I been able to use Nishikawa. So, but I don't really want to be upset about that. Like getting second place, ironically, in a competition that does not give extra ETH to the podium places. Like I built this lineup to win the threshold, which I got. And I was like, sweet. I'm in. I'll be fine with that. So Blue Tomatoes, I can't believe you brought this up because so if you thought rabbit hunting was like painful, this is actually worse, and I had forgotten about it. So the other thing that I never, ever, ever do is look at what I like the prize pools, because like it's one of those that like if you're in a star tier or and you're like, oh man, if I win a star, let me see who I could win, and then you fall and you're just like, oh, I didn't. Mike's asking, was Nishikawa going to just be for the threshold? The whole lineup was just for the threshold. There was no part of me did I think this was a competitive lineup to like even win a card. So like, I'm not going to take any credit here. But anyway, as I take credit. So when the game week closed and I finished second, I was like, okay, I'm going to look at what I could win. So the prize pool, so first place was a tier 4 unique and a tier 2 super rare. And I don't have any uniques. I think winning a unique is really cool. I don't care who it is, but it's fine. But I finished second, which frankly, I figured I was even going to fall from second, and then I was going to get maybe a tier 3 super rare or just tumble, like who knows? But I got finished at a tier 2. So I go into the tier 2 super rare, and I'm like, there are some awesome cards here. So the only player I know I cannot get is Reece James because he's first and I did not finish first. Everyone else is in play. So I go down the list. Kieran Trippier, Carlos Vela, Lucho Acosta, Frankie de Jong. These are super rares, by the way, of people I could win. Leroy Sané, Julian Carranza, Bruno Guimaraes, Karim Benzema. I mean, these are like, I was like, wow, these are really good cards. Brenner. And even as you go down, I know people don't get like really excited about goalies, but I saw Brad Stuver and I was like, that would be like somebody who is new. I mean, I'm relatively new playing super rare. Getting a super rare goalie is hard. So if I could win one, this is awesome. Nicholas Ladero. So I just go down the list and I'm like, these are all like Leon Goretzka is like an easy sell if I wanted to. Trossard, SMS, Grifo. I would have just laughed my face off if I won Kai Havertz. Jordan Morris, Sean Johnson would have been like a really good card for me. So I got really excited. Like Blue Tomatoes. There are some incredible players here. So I go to open my reward, and I'll just show you the guy that I actually won. I won Nicholas Madsen. And I'm not here to say, like, I don't know many players. I'm just like I don't scout a ton. Like, I'm not going to know this 22-year-old midfielder from Westerlo. So if I saw him going through that list again, if I was like, oh, I must have just missed him. I was like, that's fine. So I look into it a little more. Actually, before I do that. So before I look, I say, what did the guy, there were a few people in chat who were asking, like, what did the guy in front of you win? So the guy in front of me, Frankie Sinatra, who I will remember forever now, won this Lorenzo Montipo, I assume that's how you say his name, super rare, which is the Verona goalie. So like a goalie is great. And Ryan Leonard unique. I have no idea who Ryan Leonard is. I looked through, like his scores aren't that great. And so I don't even know what I would have done. Actually, I take that back. The scores are fine. Certainly lately, like that's pretty good. And like the Montipo one, like he's a goalie. I don't even care what the scores are. Like he's a goalie. I could have easily, no, I don't know, easily, but you could probably sell that card and get what you want. So those were the two. And I was like, I don't remember seeing, or I do remember seeing Montipo in the prize pool. So I was like, let me see where Montipo was in the prize pool versus where I was, and just like how far down the list I was. So Montipo, who I think I had him up here. Yeah. So I think this Pierre-Emile Højbjerg card would have been great. Loriente would have been great. And I'm in this range here. So it's like, okay. And I'm like scrolling and I'm like, where is Madsen? And so I literally control F it. Madsen. He's dead last. Last card in the pool. So not that I felt, I don't know how to put this nicely. So my first response, like feeling, was disappointed that I finished second in a contest, like a podium. And I got the last card in the pool. Now, this came as Stish, Plastician, one U23 Rare Pro, and one Gianluigi Donnarumma. So Donnarumma was 9th out of 10 so there was 10 players in the star prize pool for that contest, and he was 9th. And it was like, that doesn't seem great, but also it's a star pool. Like, there are not that many players. There were 118 players above Madsen on this list. And I finished second in this contest and got, as Sorare shows, literally the worst card. So that made me feel not great, like, honestly. And I am here realizing how obnoxious it is to be complaining about winning a super rare. Like, I get it. I get it. Trust me. I probably would have turned me off by now. So thank you to everybody who is here. So then I'm like, let me just see how this dude is. And he's good. He is good. Like, this is a good card. He's under 23. I don't play under 23. But Westerlo are well safe of relegation. They're not going to win the title. He shares set pieces with Maxime de Kuiper, who is on loan. So maybe he leaves and Madsen gets a monopoly of set pieces. But he has 3 games left this season, including away to Anderlecht and home against Bruges. Now, he could bang that last game away to Sorare. That'd be great. So it was kind of like, well, I got the 119th card out of 119. And he has 3 games left of this season. So Mike was saying all the cards. So I think Montipo, if I remember correctly, was 39th in the pool. So between 39 and 119. So basically anyone below Montipo I could have won. Like Højbjerg, Willis, Trossard. Charlie's telling me they could play another 6. I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs, but if they do, I didn't think, are they going to make the playoffs? Top 6, right? Fellas, it's close. Oh, is it 8? Oh, Europa League playoffs. All right. So everybody in chat is bringing this up. Did I see who finished behind me? And the answer is yes, I did. So the reward behind me was a tier 3. Oh, top 8 for Belgium. All right. See, you guys making me feel better already. So thank you very much for that. Oh, wait, I need to go back to 359. So he'll have more. Of course, it'll be against good teams, but he'll have more. He'll have more. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate that. So the last So I got the last tier 2, literally and figuratively, like literally within that tier and in the prize pool, and the last one in tier 2. So this is the top of tier 3, which more goalies like Stefan Fry. Super Rare is a card I've actually tried to get. Barraza, Foremost Mendy as a tier 3 is wild. Like that would have been huge. Jack Elliott, Muslera, like these are really, really good cards that I would have definitely been excited to get. So the one right behind me was Cap 240 Super Rare, Timo Werner, who, like, this valuation, Super Rare valuations are always really weird. So the other weird thing about Madsen, just to like throw a little more fuel on the fire, is so if you notice, the card I got was the 1 of 10, and the 1 of 100 rare was auctioning at, in fact, it might still be going. So the 1 of 10, oh, it went yesterday for 0.08, which is much lower than the recent Timo Werner's. And if you notice, Werner's not even the top of tier 3. Like he's the, I didn't even see him. 0.131 6 hours ago. Well, let's say it's 0.106. So like even the Werner card is worth much more than Madsen, to the point where I went back and looked up the swap rules, because I was like, this is kind of ridiculous. And I felt it just wasn't the way I wanted to feel. And particularly because I actually had a great week. Like I won a Ryan Gauld rare. I won a Grimaldo limited. I finished 3rd in Challenger limited. Like I was really excited about when I got these. Pershers was my first one. Shout out John Nellis. I don't know why he's the only I immediately think of John Nellis whenever I see Pershers. So I'd open these 3 cards, and then I was like, tier 2 Super Rare, let's go. Now, I'm going to hold on to Madsen just because if I give up on him, he's literally going to be the best under 23 midfielder Sorare's ever seen. So I'll hold on to him. I'm happy that I won it, but it unfortunately left me disappointed. Yeah, so Mike, the Madsen like value is like the super rare value is broken because there really haven't been, like, there were none traded. So like the last one was 2 months ago. 6 months ago was 0.43. Like I don't know how the floor on Madsen when I won him was 0.75, and as we can see, nobody bought it. But yeah, like nobody's touching this card. So I don't even know how, like, why he's a tier 2. Like, how did this card? At what point were they're like, this card's brand new? Like we're now minting this card. How is he a tier 2? Again, really good card. I joked around with Sam and Harry, Sam Ty and Harry Trades, who I do Looking Up with Laird with on Sorare TV, that his L15 sucks for cap modes. But I won. So Mike Basson says the next winner to have a prize of lower value than yours was 13th. Yeah, see, like super rare values these are all really weird. To be honest, I didn't even look. I didn't look that much. Like there was actually nobody here that I would have won. Like even the tier 3s. To be honest, I just wanted a goalie. I guess Ryman's the goalie. And whatever Michael Verrips is. But it just felt, so I don't think I would have been as disappointed had I not looked at the prize pool. Like if I just didn't look, I would have no idea that there were like awesome cards in that. And I never would have looked. Like I never go back and look. It's just not something I do. And so I was talking to Gator Guy about it, and he's the one who got me to look. And I'll never forgive him for that. So Yeah, just the looking was the problem. And I was explaining to him, because he was like, you have a really fun sweat now. And I was like, that's the worst sweat for me, of just waiting to be caught. This was when I was in first. And I like if I just need a goal from this guy, or if I can, I like coming from the bottom of the standings and still having players to go. So having the sweat of, I hope nobody catches me, that's not fun. Like, that's the opposite of fun to me. Basistenge, I don't know if I would say that correctly. In fact, I know I would not say it correctly. Said, if you do switch plans and want to get rid of him, I'm interested for my U23 rare pro team. Yeah, so yes, I like to chase. I don't like being chased. Sure, that's a nice way to put it. So I actually played him in under 23 rare pro this week, but it's just a coin farming. This lineup has no chance. I mean, they all play, so I got that going for me. I'm only 36 points away from a tier 3 right now, so maybe we'll get there. Never know. But yeah, so it was just kind of a bummer. That's a place where you should celebrate, and I just feel bad I felt bad for the way I felt, if that makes sense. And so there's just, yeah. Mike Basson saying, when only 2 cards are to be rewarded in any league from any pool, you'd never expect a second card to be last on the list. That's exactly how I felt. Like, here are 119 names. Let's say, 119, and 2 people win cards. And they're like, okay, the 39th, I think Montipo was 39th, 39th and 119th. And I get it. Like, I could have, he's in the pool, so I could win. What I really needed was someone else, like for the 3rd place, to get a tier 2 also. And then I was guaranteed to just get the 118th card instead of 119. I don't even remember who was 118. Oh, Christian rolled on. Yes, I would have taken that card. For sure. For sure. Like Memphis. Memphis was like 100th on the list. And I was like, well, I'm not going to be that low. And I did comment to somebody, it's wild that like Zach, the beauty of Sorare, where Zach McMath is like more considered a better prize than Memphis Depay. Great game. I think it's actually that's okay. So Blue Tomato said, theoretically, would the swap rules apply? So I feel like there was a rule where, like, if the cards below you were worth more, then yes, you could. But theoretically, but I don't remember how it worked, to be honest. I only did it once, and it was because of an injury. And then I had to do it again because of another injury. And so I don't know. But we move on. Like, I was at the point where yeah, I mean, there's nothing I could do about it. And so, like, sitting there and lamenting about it and whining on Twitter, which I did, just wasn't going to do anything. Shekel, that's how I'm going to pronounce it. Again, there's a 4 in the middle. I'm just surprised Sorare and SorareData don't share some big infos like their tier list evaluation. So I'm actually okay with Sorare not sharing that stuff. And I know there's like no guarantee. Like, that's the other thing. They don't guarantee that your card is worth more than the one below you. Like, they do their best. And so that's it. So I was actually much like, just the fact that he was last. That's what got me about it. That I had a card, and yeah, Mike's exactly right. Lesson learned, don't podium. I had 2 podiums last week. Like that was the other thing. That's one of the best weeks I've had in forever. And I ended up like feeling kind of disappointed, which is just not how, like one of my best weeks ever, and I got 4 cards. But they ended up being fun. Got my ETH. I was actually second in Challenger. So my other podium was Challenger Europe Limited. And I was second at one point, which made me get over 0.2 ETH for the game week. And I was like, oh, cool. And then I fell to 4th and lost all the ETH. And it was actually Sean, PSU fans too, like sent me a message. He's like, hey, you didn't tell me you were back in 3rd. And I was like, oh, I had no idea. But this was the lineup. Absolute banger. Krasnodar boys showed up. Gotta love it. So yeah, that was it. That was that. No more podiums for me. I don't like where I end up on them. So, and basically based on my lineups for this week, I'm pretty sure that I'll handle that. No problem. So Charlie said it's probably not worth playing 240 for anything else bar the threshold. They did say 270 is where the big boy prizes would be given out. Were they actually like big boy prizes last week? I don't even know. Let's look. Back to the rewards page. I've been posting this, last week I posted this on the podcast stream, or podcast feed, excuse me. So I'm trying to like describe more what I'm seeing so that those of you who are listening, and thank you for doing so, please rate and review, will understand what I'm doing on this video. But so again, like I made that 240 lineup. So capped 240 super rare is the first lineup I build every week now because of the ETH. And there was no part of me that built that lineup last week thinking it was going to win a card. The card is the gravy. I look at it the opposite. Like I think Sorare is like, compete here to win cards, and if you get 250, we'll give you some ETH. And I'm like, let me get the ETH, and if there's a card on top of that, that's great. And then I just like got into my own head of like, oh my gosh, I got a podium. I'm going to get a really great card. Could be a really good card, not going to lie. But I wasn't super excited. So Cap 270 super rare, which I also entered, got Luciana Costa, Yamar Gomez, Andrade. And these are all tier 2s, so these are also cards. Like those are 4 cards that I could have won theoretically because they were in the tier 2 pool, but they were not. But I didn't. I mean, Jack Elliott is a tier 3. That is wild. Guzan is a 3. You don't see goalies. I mean, I guess it's new now, meaning So Mike said, to be fair to you, the way those results and subsequent awards have made you feel is not something that's good for the game going. Yeah. I think I brought that on myself. Like I said, if I had never looked at the prize pool and I would have won that guy, I would have been like, oh, cool. Who's this guy? And I still would have never gone back. Like if I looked at that card and you were like, yeah, there are 119 names on that list, where do you think he is? And I'd be like, I don't know, somewhere in the middle. Like I really don't. I think I ruined it for myself, honestly. Like I'm not blaming Sorare for this. I will now because now that I know it's not my fault, but like giving the worst, like the last card in the pool, like somebody has to win the last card in the pool. Like I get it, but it just felt weird giving it to somebody who literally finished second in a competition when like they make a big deal about podiums. Like, I don't really care, but like they make a deal. Blue Tomato is saying, but everyone's looking at the prize pools. I mean, I really don't. Like maybe I'm doing it wrong. I mean, I look at the prize pools before the game weeks, but I don't actually look at the players in them. Like there's no point where I'm going through like a tier 2 list or a tier 3 list and I'm like, I don't want any of these guys. Let me take my lineup somewhere else. Like it's just not how I play. But I also don't win that much. So maybe I need to. But yeah, we've got some lineups this week. Where did I play Cap 240 super rare? So I took a risk this week. But I think this lineup ended at exactly 240 points, so that made me play it. I think it was 240. Oh, actually, I have it in the lineup builder. I don't think it updates. Let's see what we got here. I had 1 point left. Excuse me. I thought that might be the case. So yeah. So Nishikawa gets a chance to redeem himself, but it's a tough matchup. My other option was Brad Guzan, who's away to New York City FC. Runner Runnerson, my other super rare goalie, is off this week. So I only had 2 choices. So I ended up playing Guzan. Like they were the same to me. I like New York City FC, so Guzan having like 100 would have made me feel doubly bad. So I played Nishikawa. If anybody here thinks that they could have come up with like a better way to split the difference on those two, feel free to share. And then Anderson Santamaria got sent off midweek in the CONCACAF Champions League, so I was like, well, he'll play because he's not tired. Rusnak home against apparently the best team in Major League Soccer, St. Louis City Football Soccer Club City, something like that. But Fernando Gorriarán I played him in the midweek because Nep told me he was going to play, and then he was not fit enough, or he didn't start. So I'm hoping he starts this one and next midweek, and then Mats Kurlert. I think that's how you say it. Banging matchup. Chani used to have him. I think he got rid of him within days. So you look at this lineup, and I feel like if you looked at my lineup from last weekend, you'd just be like, yeah, he's just playing for Threshold. And I am. That's exactly what I do. Like, nobody is looking at this lineup. Brad Guzan, Alessio Castro-Montes, Robin Janssen, Robert Lubicic, and Julian Quinones, and thinking like, yeah, you're playing for first. I wasn't. I was playing for 250 points, and I got to 378, which I wish I could carry over for this week and just already start off with 128.7. It does not work that way. But these are the lineups that I made with some great coin farming situations. But I don't know. That's it. That's what I had for that. You guys have anything else you want to talk about before I take off? It was a little early today because I got some stuff going on. Happy Good Friday to those who celebrate. We got Easter coming up this weekend. Actually, I guess I will tell everyone now, I'm going to be off next Wednesday and Thursday, which is usually office hours and Sorare Andrews. I'm not sure what we're doing about them yet. Maybe we'll have them, maybe we won't. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Mike Baston saying off topic. Wonder if that means now everything that's off topic is now on topic. But anyway, Guillermo Ochoa is flying all over his goal mouth, keeping the ball out of the net. Amazing player still. I never got a Ochoa. Yeah, Shekel, I was afraid we'd have nothing to talk about. So I realized with Andy, and it comes up with like a ton of Sorare Andrews content, or Sorare Andrews episodes, and leads to off topic, a whole show about being off topic, is like there's always something to talk about when it comes to Sorare. Some of the stuff's really stupid. Some of the stuff nobody cares. Nobody cares to talk about, but they want to listen to it. They want to hear what other people are saying about it. And so there's always something. My wife asks me that all the time. She's like, how is there that much to talk about? It's a fantasy soccer game. I'm like, oh, no. It is so much more than that. And it is. Actually, so do I want to get into this? Blue Tomatoes, I did not buy the Vanderbruggen Super Rare, although I did play did I end up playing him? I might have ended up not even getting him in a lineup. Yeah, I didn't even play him. I was going to play mine. Shout out to Gald Guy for getting me the Jersey Age Mint Vanderbruggen Limited. This is the card right here. So 28 mint, Jersey Mint, Age Mint. Cool card. I don't know why is he playing now? Like if I need anything from Circle Bruges, it's Dino Hotic to play again, or please let him go and please go somewhere where you can smash your face off again. Because man, that card just went belly up as soon as I got it. Almost got a super rare too. But Blue Tomatoes. So Sir Hiss actually DM'd me about that card because during the show I said it that so Sir Hiss, for those of you who are unaware, is a new, I don't know if it's a new account, but it's basically a trading bot, and the bot is not able to handle super rares yet, and it's because like the super rares are just not that liquid, so it's really difficult to get prices. So I understand that. But they DM'd me and it was like, hey, if you want that Vanderbruggen, like, let's just talk about it because the bot doesn't work for it. And I wanted to be like, I'm sorry, I really had no interest in that card. I was just pressured on a stream to use your bot. And so no, I don't have it yet. Jump Shoot saying when Chat GPT trading. But I mean, this one might be based on Chat GPT. We don't even know. Patience saying, fun fact, Circle Bruges had a full U23 team lineup last week. That is fun. That is the definition of a fun. And Jerem saying, what was that? His counters are only 20 minutes. What does that mean? 20 minimum? So anyway, so the bot is basically, yeah, if you get 120% of whatever card that they want, it'll accept it immediately. And it's a cool idea. I feel like it's the same situation as Ruve, I forget what the Twitter hand, Portuguese trader, something like that. That people look at traders and they're like, I'm going to give up all of my junk for one of your good cards. And eventually all they're going to have is junk. And I understand, like Pavel does get good cards because they buy galleries. It's not just trading. Just trading is really hard to get good enough cards that people want to keep that, because nobody ever looks at a trader account and is like, oh, let me give you something good for your thing that's good. It's like, let me just pile up this junk I don't use and give it to you for a messy super rare. And I just don't see how, like, I don't think people are looking at Pavel the right way, because they're looking at Pavel and they're like, oh, he does all these trades and is obviously, well, not obviously successful, but looks successful. But that's not where Pavel really makes the money. It's buying bundles or galleries or bundles at 65 cents on the dollar and selling those cards. And that's very different than just, hey, trade me your junk and I'll give you some good cards. Because at some point there are no good cards. Like, that's what happens. So, but it's a cool idea. Oh, Germ saying counter offers expire in 20 minutes. That's a good idea. I mean, that's a good idea. I mean, I've already heard people talk about this. Like, oh, if you're watching a game and somebody gets injured, and like you immediately send the offer if you have that injured player. Like, yeah, you might be able to get away with one, but after, at some point it stops working. And again, I like the idea. I try to do it too. I've said it multiple times on shows this week. Like, trying to trade is one of my favorite things on the platform. And I wish it happened more often. Like, very rarely are people willing to trade for even value, even if they want to trade also. Like, it feels like everyone wants to leave a successful trade thinking, I completely screwed that guy. And I feel like early on, maybe not early on, but I feel like there was a time where I was able to have conversations with people where I would offer cards that I thought would help their gallery. Like, I would look at people's lineups and be like, I noticed you're missing a super, or, a rare America midfielder. I have one, but I'm looking for whatever they had, and the values kind of are close. Do you want to trade? And I feel like that just doesn't happen anymore. It certainly doesn't happen with me. It's just like, oh, you want to trade? Well, give me more than it's worth. And I think it turns a lot of people off. I do also see all of these people who are like, yeah, I'll trade for 110, 115, 120%. And they've like literally never traded. Like they just don't do it. So I don't know. I wish trading, I think trading is more fun. Like that's a fun part of the game that, for me at least, that just like selling cards with ETH and buying like that, it's just not, that's not as enjoyable for me. And I've kind of described that before, where if I'm willing to trade a card to somebody and they don't want to trade, and then I sell the card that would allow me to get the one I wanted with the ETH, and then I'm like, I don't know if I want that card. I don't know. Mike's with me with trading. Rue gathered over 6,000 this week just from that thing he did with the giveaway. I guess he'll buy good stuff with it if he doesn't withdraw. Was that the buy 150 pounds worth of stuff and you can enter? I don't know. That sounded a little sketchy to me. But maybe I didn't read the entire Twitter thread that was 85 pages long. William says, how does it work for Sorare to choose from the pool to give out rewards to managers ranking in lineups? So from what I gathered, I don't know if they actually use a number generator, but I think they effectively use a number generator to figure out what the top person gets. So if you finish first, everyone below you will finish below you in the pool. So if you have like the 8th best card, nobody below you will have higher than that card. But I don't know how they get everyone, like, I don't know how they got to 39. All right, I can guess how they got to 39 for Montepo. I don't know how they got to 119. But theoretically, you could have anyone in the list, and it's just random. And randomness bothers a few people, but I think Sorare like picking and choosing also is bad. So Bossy's saying, I hate it when people put 120% trade in their name, but then you sent a decent 120% offer with starters and they decline. Those people are liars. They're all liars. I think anyone who puts that, other than like Pavel, and Pavel's like puts it in his name that he's really going to screw you. He's like, give me 140. And you're like, that seems like a lot. And he's like, it's 145 now. What's he up to now? 129. That's pretty good. Let's see what he's got here. Oh, a little Teal Bunbury rare. Shout out Haber. Yeah, I mean, I think using like this SorareData trade builder is really fun and trying to figure out values and stuff. And I think the one thing that people do, and maybe this comes up with 120% people, that I forget what I think Andy brought up yesterday, but basically there are a lot of different ways you can value cards on Sorare. You can look at last sale, you can look at floor, you can look at 3-day average, and you just have to know when you're using a trader, or really anybody, really, that whatever is the most favorable for them is what they're going to use. But that applies to both sides, meaning they're going to use whatever's best for them on the cards they're giving up, and they're going to use whatever's best for them on the cards they're receiving. And usually it's not the same. So they'll look at, if they're trying to give up cards, they're like, well, my cards are worth the 3-day average, which is higher than the floor and higher than last sale. They're like, it's a three-day average, that's what it is. And they're going to look at yours and they're like, well, I'm going to go under the floor price because the floor price obviously means it's not selling. And you're like, yeah, but the 3-day average is higher. And they're like, yeah, no, it's not, but the floor. And then you go back and you're like, yeah, but floor. And they're like, but you want the card. And then you're like, they got me. So just one of those things. There was a guy that, let's see, what was this comment? There was a guy that had selling for 5% less than floor, and he wanted like 15% more than floor because it was a new card for J-League player. Nothing bothers me more, but it does bother me when people are like, yeah, I'll give you 5% off the floor. And you're like, oh, nice. And you look and the floor is like $100 and the last sale was like $19. And you're like, oh, that deal doesn't seem so good anymore. So, William, where's the place on SorareData where you can check out rankings of lineup rewards? Oh, so if you go, I'll just start at the homepage. But if you go to SO5 and then literally rewards, and we have them for all 3 sports now, which is really fun because just having more clarity on rewards is always really nice. And I think that's a level of transparency that we didn't always get that is good now. So for baseball, was this past game week through 6? Yeah. So whoever won Limited All-Star took home a Ronald Acuna. So that's really fun. Jump shoot. So this is something we're going to change exactly for this reason. So SO5 is what they call the football lineups. Some of them internally call it SO5, and thank God it has not caught on. But it's basically SO5 like was the game. And NBA is 5, so I think they didn't change it. And baseball's 7. But you're right, we need to change that header because anyone who came here for either NBA or MLB wouldn't know what SO5 is. But that's where it is, rewards, and then yeah, they're all here for all 3 sports, and it's updated it goes back as long as possible. So this is this game week. Oh, are NBA rewards out already? Oh, let's claim some rewards. I was terrible this game week. Jalen Brunson 0 just crushed it. So here we go. I bet it. Oh, where's Jeb? Jeb, I got another Kojo. I actually have Corey Joseph limited already. And then tier 3. So I wasn't expecting to do this, but let's go. Utah Jazz guard. Oh, that could actually, well, I guess the season's over now. That would have been helpful 2 or 3 weeks ago. But yeah, bad week for me on the NBA side. So is what it is. But if you're looking to see what everybody else won, so yeah, first place in limited champion took home Kevin Durant. And actually the values seem to be okay. So I feel like there was this thought that people were like, oh, they're going to, we got to fix this, I guess. Oh, we haven't, they probably just came out. So we haven't done that. Is there an ETN displaying history of rewards won for NBA and MLB? Yes. Well, no, there's no ETA, but we do know we are working on it. Like that's not going to be something that we are waiting a long time for. For those of you who are unfamiliar with that, like jump shoot maybe, because I know jump shoot's pretty new. If you go to a card, like a specific card anywhere on SorareData, and you hit this SO5 rewards, you can see all of the rewards you've won with that, like with lineups with that card in it. And so we don't have this for NBA and MLB yet, but now that we have the data, we will have that. So check that out. Surface, hello. I was just about to say goodbye, but yes, this is instead of rabbit hunting, although I did do a little rabbit hunting, sort of. Correct, jump shoot. This is not on NBA or MLB yet, but it will be soon. Don't worry. Yes, I realize those are the 2 you use. Yes, but they're coming. Don't we know it's coming. So yeah, I think that's all I got for today. I'll show off my quick. These were the baseball rewards I won today. I don't follow baseball a lot, but they're fine. I already had a Chris Bryant limited card anyway, so a duplicate's always fun. And then Cole Sands was the classic tier 5 relief pitcher. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, whoa, took myself off. Thank you to everyone for coming. I feel like the chat was particularly hot today. I appreciate that because sometimes I have nothing to talk about and you guys are able to give me something to talk about. So thank you for that. If you guys could please hit the like button on the video. For all of those listening, I hope that there's enough description of what I'm showing on the screen. If not, feel free to reach out to me and just be like, hey, just tell me what you're talking about so that I at least, or tell me what you're showing. I try to be cognizant of it, but sometimes I'm so deep in the rabbit hole that I forget. But yeah, thank you to everyone for coming. Like I said, the next week's SorareData content schedule is going to be a little wonky because I'm off Wednesday and I'm off Thursday, and I might not replace those shows just because sometimes I need to take a few days off. But yeah, good luck to everyone on their lineups this weekend, whatever sport it is. I hope we all win a bunch of stuff and that we don't win the 119th player out of 119 player prize pool. Thanks, guys.